Hi, friends. In our March 17th worship service, we had Glenn and Candy Michalski come from Strongsville United Methodist Church to speak with us about a program called Royal Family Kids Camp. I think it's probably something new for most of us here at Worcester United Methodist Church, but I invite you to take a few minutes here to learn more about it and how you possibly might get involved, and know that there's more information available at our What's Up table in Wesley Hall. Let's take a look.
Pastor Dave was speaking from the pulpit one Sunday morning and mentioned a camp for kids in foster care. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is something, a desire that God has given me many years ago. I've never been involved in such a God-led event in my life.
These kids need a week like this, and it feels like we have the resources to do it. And there's 1,800 children in the foster care system in Cuyahoga County without a church in Cuyahoga County doing it. And I just felt like it was ours to do.
Whenever I went to camp when I was a kid, it was the best part of my summer, and it really helped me grow and just make friends. And another part is I really want to be a social worker when I grow up, and this camp is kind of like my test run.
Like the whole idea of Royal Family Camp is that we don't fix kids in a week of time with this kind of pain. We enter life with them, and we look for a moment, just one moment where God's love becomes real and hope is crystallizing. And that doesn't just happen for campers, it happens for the adults too.
Royal Family Kids Camp has touched my life in so many ways. I was a camp counselor at Camp Wanakee this past summer, and it was just different, and it was awesome to see the differences. And I just love these kids so much.
If you're willing to open up your heart and care for these kids, then I just pray that they get that impact, that they know that they can succeed in this world.
For many of these kids, for the first time in their lives, they're feeling love and hope, and that's what this whole camp is all about, is planting that seed so that one day these kids, in the midst of something, and they're crying out for help, they'll remember that there's people here that love them.
We want the kids to take home a moment where God's love is palatable and real to them, a moment of grace where they know something is awakened in them that can't be quenched or stopped, something where they can't go back and never be the same again. And that's what we want for the adults who come too.
The people that are here are just so motivated just to love on kids for the whole week, and that I'm just so happy with our church family that we have here, and just the growth that I see coming in our church just because of this experience.
The one way we can support, they have an auction where they auction up baskets and different items. So we put one together, a kind of a experience of Worcester, including the Ohio Light Opera and restaurant and other businesses. So if you're willing to support that, there's a note in the bulletin about how you can do that. So, thanks, Glenn.
Thank you. Very generous support there. We appreciate the basket. And thanks for allowing me to be here. First, this is a super important and time-critical ministry because we're talking about children. So the first time I visited a Royal Family Kids Camp, I looked across the room and I saw a little girl like this one, and I thought, what is this beautiful child doing at a camp for foster kids? Why doesn't she live with her dad and her mom? Well, Royal Family serves children aged 6 to 12 that have suffered the trauma of abuse and neglect and are in the foster care system, meaning that they don't live with their parents. And you may not even want to try to imagine what has happened to these kids that requires authorities to step in and move them to a safe place. The mission of Royal Family Kids Camp, which is a week-long sleepaway camp, is just showing a child what love is like, and that there's a wider world out there, and that these adults who are playing with them are volunteers. Now think, every other adult in their lives is paid to interact with them. Judges, social workers, teachers, foster parents are all well-meaning and necessary, but when it comes as a surprise often to our kids to learn that this adult that you've been fishing with is here because she wants to be. When I first heard of this camp on a Sunday morning, much like this one about 12 years ago, and the impact that it had on campers and the volunteer staff, I was interested, but I wondered, could I really do this? I spent my life as an automation engineer, not someone who worked with kids day to day. Maybe I wouldn't be able to relate to them or deal with their problems, but I was a scout as a kid. I loved that. I loved playing with my son. I loved the outdoors. Looked like a good group of people that I could have fun with, so I said, I'll give it a try. And maybe I can help a kid have fun like I used to, and who knows, maybe even teach him to ride a bike. So chaos, trauma, and abuse suffered early in life can have huge consequences throughout life. Look at these numbers. Here are some of these numbers convince me that some form of early intervention was really necessary to help these kids. The prison numbers alone are devastating. 74% of inmates in prison were once in the foster care system. It's a cycle that's difficult to break, but we can try. So our solution, or one solution, the one we offer, is that every summer we take 40 of these kids to camp to us, to a resident camp for the week. 20 boys and 20 girls ride the bus to camp on Monday morning of camp week. Between then and when we return to our church on Friday, they get to do what all kids do at camp. They swim, they run, they canoe, they fish, they sing songs, listen to Bible stories, cook over a campfire, sleep in a cabin, and spend time with people who are living out their faith, that are simply there to make sure they're safe and have a good time. We don't really try to fix anybody inside a week. For the Children is a non-denominational Christian organization dedicated to serving foster children around the globe. Royal Family Kids Camp is the original effort, and it was started by a local church in California about 35 years ago, I think, that was looking to help kids in the local foster care system. Now, nationally, there are some 200 camps around the country, sponsored by 28 different Christian denominations that serve about 7,000 foster kids with over 10,000 volunteers. That sounds pretty awesome, right? Until you consider that that's out of the over 400,000 foster children in the country, and we're getting to almost 7,000 of them. In the East Ohio Conference, Willoughby Hills United Methodist, Northampton, and Strongsville all have camps. They're a little bit too big for any one church to do all by ourselves. Between the three camps, we take about 150 kids to camp. Well, where I live in Cuyahoga County, there's 2,000 children in the foster care system. The national organization provides training material, curriculum, and other resources to hundreds of local camps around the country. Each local church or group of churches rents a camp facility with cabins, lifeguards, cooks, maintenance, and all those other people you require to have a camp run. Then we take and train 60 full-time volunteers to support our 40 campers. Counselors, activity leaders, nurses, a social worker. We have a pediatrician that volunteers to come with us, and all kinds of behind-the-scenes helpers. I will admit, if you're interested, that it's the hardest, sweatiest, most emotional, absolutely the best week of the year. So I tell everybody I meet about Royal Family Kids, but I realize it's a big ask to give a week or even part of a day. But we know that someone out there is just the perfect fit for a counselor or support staff willing to share their gifts. Someone who can play, act silly, listen, and love for a few days that can make a big difference in a child's life. So this is one of our volunteer campers, Sam. He's got the blue arrow over his head. He's been our volunteer counselors. He's been coming to camp with us since he was in high school as a teen assistant. So last year, Sam shows up with his dad and his girlfriend, who is now his fiance. Their wedding scheduled for the fall. They're all coming back this summer for Royal Family Kids Camp. Pretty good foundation for a marriage, I think. And Ashley gets to figure out what her father-in-law is like as well. So I can't tell you how important those teen assistants are to the success of our camp. Of course, there's always room for more seasoned, experienced people who are old enough and wise enough to know how to get out of the sun for a few minutes. And although men and teen boys 16 and over are especially needed, our 20 girl campers need to be surrounded by women and teenage girls as well. All three local camps are looking to sustain and grow, and would love nothing more then to expand the number of kids we can take, or even someday be able to start another camp. So if this story touches your heart, there are a number of ways you and your church can help. My wife Candy and I will be in the fellowship hall after the service, and we can tell you all about our financial needs, our prayer teams, and how you can help both full-time at camp, part-time, ahead of time, come on down for a day and help with a special event. There's all different kinds of ways that you can participate, like with the basket for our auction. But most importantly, please take this story with you. Pick up one of my brochures downstairs. Maybe you know just one person that this resonates with, that would care about these kids. Share it with your friends and family. Become a pest to them like I am. At camp, every now and then, if you are paying attention, that veil is parted and you get a little glimpse into what heaven must be like. People sometimes say at the end of camp that we are headed back to the real world, but I've come to believe camp is the world I really want to live in. It's the kingdom here on earth, just for a short while. Thanks.
Thank you again, Glenn, for that presentation. My parents have served at a Royal Family Kids Camp out of the Northampton United Methodist Church, and this is a great opportunity for us to connect with others. Thank you for giving us some different options of things that we can be doing to help with that. Maybe some of you felt that call today.